People know how dangerous it is to migrate. They have that very clear. They have that information all the time. They know how expensive it is. They know how dark that tunnel is. When they see no other options, that's when they go for the tunnel. For people in the United States to understand the obstacles that families face, the heartbreaking choices that they have to make.
America's immigration crisis begins in faraway places like this. Not at the Texan border, but much further south, at the very bottom of Mexico, where impoverished Central America barters back and forth across the Suchiate River. So here's the scene. On that riverbank is Mexico, on the other side Guatemala, behind me the official crossing point, but here is where all the important stuff happened. 10 minutes by rickshaw on the Guatemalan side is the central bus station. All day long, passengers step off buses direct from Guatemala City, El Salvador and Honduras. The migrants carry new backpacks ready for the journey north. Some wear smart clothes provided by their smugglers so they'll fit in America. And the smugglers, or polleros as they're known, are ever present. They earn thousands of dollars for each migrant they usher to the US. It's very clear what's going on here. These people are surreptitiously being handed on into a network that will take them across the border and attempt to take them all the way to the United States. We see a young girl carrying a Disney backpack, talking on the phone. We don't know for sure what's happening, but normal practice is that with each stage of the journey, the family gets an update by phone. She doesn't seem to know either of the men she's with. Neither of them would speak with us. She's handed by one to another, who leads her across the street into a waiting room, out of sight. She's being made to sit down in the room over there. Workers at the bus station describe the waiting room as the office of the smugglers. We're advised to leave. But then we spot her again at the crossing. This time she's on a raft with another young boy, two teenagers and two different men.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Será que podríamos hablar con los niñitos?
We call out to them, asking if we can talk to them. There's no reply. Asking where they're going. They turn to hide their faces. They cross to Mexico and are hurried onto rickshaws. We try to ask if she's okay, if everything's all right. But she's given no chance to reply. We don't pursue them any further for fear of endangering her. Just over the Mexican border, we find others on the journey who can speak. What do you think most Hondurans believe that they will find in America?
Tranquilidad, paz.
Tranquility, peace, a better life, which is the main thing for our children, to keep them safe, away from the street gangs.
Rodolfo is only 15, shy and quietly spoken. The eldest of three boys, he's left his mother and his brothers in Honduras after gangs overtook his neighborhood. Like thousands of other teenage boys, he says he had little choice. It was either membership of a gang or violent death.
If you don't join them, they can kill you or do whatever they like.
He's traveling alone, but already 3 of his friends from high school have gone on ahead. They're now working in California and say they'll help him cross the border.
I would like to work in a restaurant as a waiter. That's what I'd like the most. Whatever God has in store for me, if I make it. That's my dream to get there. It is in God's hands whether I make it or not.
God's hands and the Mexican railways. Or more specifically, a freight train known as the Beast. If Rodolfo and Rosa are to make it to the US, this is the next stage in their journey. You can't travel inside, you can only clamber on top. Rough riding, exposed to the elements and the gangs who threaten and menace along the way. A huddled mass swaying toward America.
So we just left about 20 minutes ago. At the top of the train is very crowded and it's incredibly hot. It's about 40 degrees plus. People are shading themselves with whatever comes to hand, cardboard, hats, some of them. I mean, there are hundreds of young men, mainly teenagers, on top of the train, but among them I've seen a good dozen or more very young children.
And so they come, carrying cardboard to sit on. The metal skin of the train grows so hot. This woman, nestled with her 2-year-old between two carriages, wants to be reunited with family in the US.
Good job.
Others are just seeking a life only American dollars can buy.
Tell me, how many times have you made this trip?
I come in for 4 times.
4 times.
4 times because in my country is more poor people working too hard for nothing. Maybe for $10 a day. It's terrible life. United States working for $80 or $100 a day.
They push on toward the border, regardless of the robbers, the night, the risk of failure, or even death. The promise of America pulling them northwards for a future that burns brighter than what they've left behind.
I think the mothers and children are very brave, and it shows really what they're fleeing from. No mother, unless she really thought that either she or her children were in danger, would do what these moms and children have to do to come to the United States. And that is through very treacherous means. When the women come to the United States, they are arrested for entering without documents. They're put in these very small, ice-cold rooms, which the moms refer to as hieleras, which in English means an ice box. Women are crammed into these rooms for 2 to 3 days, and it's a very frightening experience. And from there, they're transported to one of the 2 detention camps. And the conditions at Carnes and Dilley are also very bad. The mothers and children are not free to go. The lives are totally regimented. We've had endless reports of inadequate medical treatment. The food is terrible. They can work at Carnes for $1 an hour. Working for slave wages is considered a privilege there.
I knew absolutely nothing about immigration detention. And then I made my first visit. Most people have no idea that one of the largest immigrant detention facilities is in Georgia.
The Stewart Detention Center was originally built as a medium security prison. Seeing how far away it is from Atlanta, it takes about 12 hours to get down and go back. The detainees don't have access to legal assistance.
I visited a young man, and I was his first visitor in 9 months. And he was pretty hopeless at that point. And I was so struck by the lack of due process. Most immigrants in detention don't have legal representation. I had a range of emotions, compassion for this person, but anger at the system. And that began to fuel this unexpected passion. It was no longer just starting a new volunteer program, but it was really personal for me.
My name is Kelly Allen. I'm the pastor at University Presbyterian Church in San Antonio, Texas.
My name is Aleida. I work with Raíces in San Antonio, Texas. I'm a legal assistant, and I work with unaccompanied minors in the shelters here in San Antonio.
So the organization that we formed is called the Interfaith Welcome Coalition. It is centered in San Antonio, although we do have people that come from other communities to volunteer with us. And it is a coalition of all kinds of different folks that are responding in many ways. The things that we are focused on are first to eliminate the policy of family detention. We also encourage and support people going into the detention facilities to become friends of the women and children there as visitation volunteers.
They just have the clothes that they traveled in. Sometimes they just have their documents and some clothes for the children, and that's it.
The families are released with little or nothing in terms of supplies, maybe one meal, but they don't have a supply of diapers if they have an infant. They don't have things to occupy their children. They don't have blankets or jackets if they're going to a cold place. And so we also invite them, if they do not have a bus that is leaving that evening, we invite them to a home to spend the night. Initially, those homes were just people in the community who offered families a place to stay for a night or two in their homes. Now we have access to a house that's owned by the San Antonio Mennonite Church, so we are partnering with them to offer hospitality to women and children who need a place to stay for one or more nights before they go to be united with family members around the country.